Hello and welcome. I am Seth Manfield, and we are going to be talking about Mono Blue Tempo in Standard. So this is the deck on MTG Arena. The deck has been super successful over the past couple weeks. Now, it is a deck that existed before Ravnica Allegiance, but since the addition of Ravnica Allegiance, it's got some new tools, and it's better situated in the metagame. There's some people that are now all of a sudden saying Mono Blue is the best deck in Standard. It seems to change week to week, right? But this deck it's hot. It's doing well, both in tabletop and online. The mana base is straightforward, 19 islands. Then there's a bunch of 1-mana creatures. The concept of the deck is to, the main game plan of the deck is to Curious Obsession one of your creatures and then just kind of protect it. That way, your Curious Obsession can kind of snowball and allow you to just draw 2 cards a turn while also hitting your opponent with one of your cheap creatures. So you see 11 1-drops here, including Pteramander, one of the new additions. We've also got Siren Stormtamer, which is a way of protecting your creatures, and it's also a wizard, which helps with your Wizard's Retort. There's a few different counterspells: Wizard's Retort, Essence Capture, and 3 copies of Spell Pierce. You see there's a ton of 1-mana spells, very low land count, so you do want a lot of cheap stuff. Dive Down is another protection option. Opt just kind of smooths out your draws. Some Chart a Course action for some card draw. Merfolk Trickster, probably my favorite card in the deck, because it's just so it allows you to take a lot of different lines that your opponent might not actually expect. Tempest Djinn is one of the premier payoffs for just being straight up mono blue. Just a huge creature for this deck to have access to. And then the 1 copy of Blink of an Eye, kind of a weird single copy of Blink, but it does have its uses. And then the sideboard is kind of like, this deck I feel like is better game 1, but that doesn't mean the sideboard isn't good. So plenty of options here to work with. Fairy Duelist, Negate for those control non-creatures decks. The search is interesting. There is 1 copy of Search for Ascana, mostly for control. Surge Mare against like red decks. And then some bounce and removal spells. So that's the deck, and we are going to be taking it into battle on MTG Arena. I am going to be playing a traditional constructed event, which these events are essentially try to get 5 wins before you get 2 losses. That's the name of the game here. And we're going to be selecting our mono blue deck. I recently have been climbing the ladder in ranked play with it and doing well there. Hopefully that translates to the traditional events as well. Alright, so we do have Obsession, which is definitely a card we want, but without the creatures to back it up and all of these lands, we're going to mulligan that. This isn't amazing, but we just have to keep. I think we're going to top that island. When you don't have an Obsession in your opener, you know that you're going to have to work a little bit more for your wins. So now our opponent's going to have full knowledge of what we're working with. They could be playing some sort of control deck, is what it appears. Could be just straight Dimir based on these lands. I would guess it's straight up Dimir. Alright, Merfolk Trickster. It's your time to shine. And honestly, I think we just... Well, I guess we do pass here. And then end of turn the Trickster. Oh, it's actually Esper. Okay. So our opponent was led on 2 basics and a water ray, but is playing the Esper colors. That is a really nice draw. We drew a Wizard's Retort, which now allows us to have some protection. We're just going to have to pick and choose what we might want to counter. And maybe our opponent's looking for another white source if they have a Kaya's Wrath in hand. Kaya's Wrath is one of the cards we are somewhat scared of. I don't know if we're supposed to play this. Our opponent could have an Absorb in hand, which would allow our opponent to gain life. So I think I'm just going to pass. It doesn't actually change the clock to play the Storm Tamer. So yeah, they have the Kaya's Wrath. So we get to counter that. If we play a Siren Storm Tamer here, we play around more like spot removal, like a Vraska's Contempt. So I think we just have to play it. Our opponent, I guess we kind of play around Contempt anyways. Maybe that was bad, because we do have the Trickster. If our opponent contempts, they go up to 5 and then we kill them. So yeah, this might have been bad. Hopefully they don't have another Kaya's Wrath, but they do. So yeah, that was a mistake on my part to play out the Storm Tamer. Hopefully it doesn't bite me. Probably gonna blink this Search with Kicker. So this likely means our opponent has to top deck something, I would guess. So hopefully they just brick off. If they do not brick off, I will be pretty sad. Pass the turn, yes. They bricked off, and now we win. Alright. So that misplay didn't actually matter as the cards came. We luckily didn't get punished for that. Alright, so we're going to board in Negates and search for a Scanta here. Sometimes they will bring in Thief of Sanity, so it's just something to be aware of. We're still going to take out our Essence Capture and some of our cheap creatures come out as well. And the Blink of an Eye. I board out the Blink of an Eye a reasonable amount of the time, I would say. Yeah, so this is quite nice. Now we are on the draw. This hand is insane on the play. On the draw, our opponent can do a number of things that will disrupt us. It's either killing the creature or casting a discard spell, is what we're hoping does not. Killing the Storm Tamer or the Thought Erasure. Nothing we could do about this, but of course, they will be taking our Curious Obsession. Alright, top deck. Let's draw another one. Obsession's great. Come on. Nope. Alright, not an Obsession. I think I'll keep the Opt. So we'll see. I don't know that we want to opt now, because that means we would expose our Siren Storm Tamer. So we might end up running this into a counterspell, but we're still going to jam it. Alright, so just a Mortify, which was exactly what we wanted. I think our opponent may have actually made a mistake there. They knew we had these dive downs. They could have waited and then mortified the Curious Obsession itself. Because you can get rid of enchantments with Mortify. And that just may have been a play our opponent overlooked there. So I'm going to lead on Storm Tamer. Now we have kind of all the protection we could possibly want for our Obsessioned Storm Tamer. And we want to pass here, leave up the Wizard's Retort in case of Kaya's Wrath. Kaya's Wrath would be the sweeper that actually gets around spot removal. Well, 2 Obsessions is better than 1, as they say. We can't really get too punished for playing the Pteramander, but I'm still going to pass because we just don't need to. And there it is. That is the match. And sometimes, yeah, this deck, the wins can come quick. Yeah, this hand isn't amazing. We don't have a wizard to turn on our Wizard's Retort, but I think we still want to keep it. Yeah, I'm going to keep. Stomping Rounds, that could be bad. If our opponent's playing like a Gruul aggro deck, that looks like they're on Teamer though. There's a few different Teamer variants in the format right now. There's Teamer Reclamation as one. Could be on that. We can't actually do anything here besides attack for 1. Interesting, interesting. Wild Growth Walker. So we've got a decision to make here. I think I'm just going to pass and hold up the Wizard's Retort. We can block the Branchwalker with our Mistcloaked Herald. And it just feels like there's a number of things our opponent could do that are bad for us. that would want us to not play this Tempest Djinn? Yeah, I think we just counter that. So now we can actually play out this Siren Storm Tamer. That gives us a wizard for this other wizard's retort. And I'm still going to leave up the Herald to trade, potentially trade, with the Branchwalker. So we have a decision here. Do we want to counter this druid? I think we do. It's pretty decent, and we just want to use our mana. Our opponent could have a way to punish that. So they played a Hadana's Climb, which means we could double block the Branchwalker. Yeah, I'm just going to double block. Like, at a certain point, we just have to tap out for the Tempest Djinn, and it leaves our opponent this window of opportunity where they can potentially do some pretty sweet stuff against us. Although, luckily, we didn't get beat up too bad there. So we can hold up the blink to bounce the Wild Growth Walker, and that would stop the climb from flipping. So I'm going to go with that. And this kind of sets our opponent back a reasonable amount. And that was a sweet, sweet, sweet draw. I'm going to put it on the Djinn. I think we're actually just looking for a land here. We don't really want to tap too low, even though our opponent probably doesn't have removal, but I think the safest thing is just to just leave up the dive down. Double the trouble for our opponent. Double the trouble. And by playing this Pteramander, it means that we have lethal for next turn, so I'll do that. Okay, that's a little bit annoying. So our opponent puts a counter on the Wild Growth Walker. Then they can potentially flip the Hadana's Climb, I believe. So we've got 4 things in the graveyard for the Pteramander. But it looks like our opponent is going to pass, which is actually quite smart. So that's fine. They're going to pass and leave up the... They're going to leave up the Temple of Araska on defense. Well, I think we're still just jamming with the team. Maybe, yeah, I think we're just jamming with the team. If they let the Djinn in, we get to draw 2 more cards. We could have charted if we really wanted to try to find a Merfolk Trickster. But I think this is fine. We can protect our Djinn with a dive down. And then just play another Djinn. And there's the Carnage Tyrants that our opponent explored. But that's not going to be enough. That is not... Even though our opponent can set up a situation where they can pump the Carnage Tyrant with the Temple, which is pretty sweet, this is still just lethal. So the blink of an eye was actually pretty critical there. Sometimes it does come up where, like, once our opponent got that Hidana's Climb into play, we were in a little bit of trouble, but the blink did get us out of it. So I think we want Entrancing Melodies here as a way to steal potential Wild Growth Walkers. Exclusion Mage could be okay. Not really sure that's our game plan. Although they might be actually just better than the Blink of an Eye in this matchup. We didn't see too much in the way of targeted removal, so I think I'll take out the dive downs. Haven't really boarded too much against Teamers specifically before. I'm gonna try this. This Teamer Creature Hidana's Climb deck. I should specify. Haven't played too much against this specific Teamer deck. I think we're looking for an Obsession, so I'm going to bottom that. This hand probably needs an Obsession to win. Maybe not. Trickster's a decent draw. But even the third land just isn't necessarily what we need. I think I'm going to chart a course. The Trickster can have value against some of the creatures we saw from our opponent, and just having the additional cards is pretty nice. Keep the Trickster for later. So I'm going to opt main phase to see if we find a chart a course. Or sorry, not a Curious Obsession, but we did not. So I think we just opt again, try to find it again. There it is. So I'm going to go for this now. We don't have much protection, so hopefully our opponent just doesn't have a removal. If they do, we've still gotten a card out of this, so it's not like the end of the world.
Let's tear this place apart.
So Vivian is actually just going to destroy the obsession. That's interesting. I don't know that that's that bad for us here. So what we can do is we can hold up Trickster plus Retort, which should be enough to stop what our opponent's doing. Because the Trickster means that we put a wizard in play, so then we can actually use the
wilds are my
counterspell part of this. Now, if our opponent finds something like a Carnage Tyrant, that would be really bad. Krasis is a card we can steal with the melody. We could also just counter it. Although taking the 4/4 seems pretty good. So it's kind of hard to not want to just melody this. Alright, I'm going to let it resolve. Tap down the Branch Walker. So its converted mana cost there on the Krasis is 2.
Let's do this again.
So a nice turn for us. It's going to kind of depend how our opponent responds. Because they are still at a high life total after all. Rhythm of the Wild is definitely annoying. Stops our Wizard's Retort from potentially being good. Although, our opponent kept the Vivian on top, so we may be able to counter that. Because it is just creature spells can't be countered. So we can counter the Vivian. So we're all in. Might as well use the Wizard's Retort there. And we can Siren Storm Tamer that. So our opponent's attacking us for 6 here. If we take it, we go to 12, and then we have 9 on the way back. I think I'll just block a Branch Walker. Ooh. I guess that does it. Wasn't thinking about Galta there. That's pretty darn strong. Don't think we necessarily messed that up. I guess I could have left one creature back if I had been thinking about it. We were at what? Were we at 14 there? Yeah, if I leave one back, maybe we can win. I honestly just wasn't thinking about Galta, so sorry. That was pretty sick, though. Well, I guess that means the bright side is we get a game 3, right? I think we want all of our spell pierces. Spell pierce is good against Rhythm and Hidana's Climb, and Lava Coil, some of the cards we saw. Yeah, this is good. It's good. We have a creature plus obsession. So we don't have the protection, so might as well just play out the Mistcloaked and hope there's no Lava Coil. No Lava Coil. Okay. So that's nice. And this is where we really just get to kind of curve out. Could leave up the Spell Pierce. Although our opponent didn't have the Lava Coil last turn. I kind of want to just get this Djinn into play. It is a little bit greedy. We didn't see 3 and 4 mana spells, though, that we really need to Spell Pierce. But drawing this card definitely makes that play a bit of a decision. But I'm not surprised to see the Krasis come down this turn. The question is how we want to handle it. We could bounce it. Then it probably gets replayed next turn is the problem. So I don't know that this trade is actually that bad for us. It's just... I think I'm going to opt first, and that's going to... Like, maybe we hit a land. Maybe we hit another obsession. Don't want another opt. Alright, so we found Pteramander, so... That simplifies our play in that we're just going to have to trade. And then we still get to save our mage. Well, I thought Spell Pierce was going to be good, but maybe it's not going to be as good as I was hoping it would be. So the question is, do we leave it up? I think we do. We saw Vivian Reed, so it's possible our opponent goes for Vivian here. And if they do, we Spell Pierce it. Alright. So that was a great sequence. Very happy about that. Lead on opt. Think we want the Trickster. We can keep the Trickster on top and just attack. We don't actually need to play out the Pteramander. So we can keep up the Wizard's Retort. That gets Spell Pierced, and then we just have lethal. Alright, so, yes, that Galta definitely got me good. It got me good. But, still won. Still won the match, because the deck's really good. Yeah, we have to keep hands like this. Just too strong to mulligan. I think I'll Storm Tamer first and then probably follow up with the other 1-drops next turn. Is this a Sultai strategy? It certainly could be. Well, we have a lot of flying men out there. 1 mana, 1/1 flyers. Hopefully our opponent does not Hydroid Crisis us. Strong magic card. So we can Obsession this turn and tap, but then next turn we don't have a good play, so I think I'd rather... This is the high upside play, is if our Djinn does not die, then we can Obsession it. Now our shields are down, so our opponent is kind of incentivized to play a removal on the Djinn if they have it. And they do, so that's unfortunate. So yeah, like I said earlier, the Curious Obsession play is not super attractive because our opponent can block next turn unless we draw another Trickster. We also wouldn't have mana available to protect our Pteramander if we put it on that. I think I'm going to opt... yeah, Spell Pierce could be good, but is more likely not to be good than good. And now I think the play is to just pass. Our opponent might think we have a Wizard's Retort, so they may not play something into our 2 open mana. And we can just end of turn the Trickster. Eventually we're going to have to play this Obsession and at least draw 1 card out of it. So now we actually could tap down the Walker. If we tap down the Walker here, we would prevent this. We would prevent the Walker from getting a counter and gaining the 3 life because it would just stop the text of the card. But I think we would rather, in this case, we just need to tap the Crisis down. And I'm just gonna throw one of our creatures in front of the Jade Light. So we basically need to draw a counter spell for the finality now. Wishing I kept that Spell Pierce earlier. Alright, well we're going to represent a counter here. But not looking good this game. Even though this is generally a pretty good matchup.
Wild animals I like. People, not so much. Get that out of here.
So yeah, we only have the two ops counting towards the Pteramander's adapt, so we can't actually adapt it this turn. So not much can be done. I wouldn't be surprised if our opponent just plays Finality. The game is essentially over.
I've seen things that would break someone like you.
And that's why I'm not playing the additional Pteramanders. Our opponent would then know we do not have a Wizard's Retort in hand, and so they would just play the Finality more likely. If we draw a land, we're actually, you know, we're in better shape because we can adapt at that point. If we draw, even if we draw, so I think we're opting towards a land. We definitely don't want the 4th Pteramander here. Okay, so we can now attack the Vivian. And we're pretty much just going to adapt our Pteramander.
Not again.
So, yeah, actually still in the game. Our opponent might now end up finding the Krasis. Because Finality isn't that great on this board. Oh, yeah, they're probably going to cast a Find. If they get back Jade Light and just cast it, or if they do that, that's not bad either. So we really need to draw a counterspell now. Obsession is okay. I think I'm just gonna attack with both, honestly. Because we just need it. We need a counterspell this turn. Pretty much. So we still have 1, 2, 3 ops in the graveyard. Alright. So I'm interested to see what our opponent does here if they go for the Find. Looks like instead it's just going to be Vivian.
This is nothing.
Yeah. That's pretty rough. Pretty rough. So I don't sideboard that much in this matchup. Just board in the two copies of Entrancing Melody. And take out a Blink of an Eye. And one copy of Mistcloaked Herald. Herald can be good if they have a Krasis in play, but on the play, just going 1 mana flyer into Obsession is great if we have that. And so the nice thing about this deck is you don't actually need to... You're not sideboarding that many cards in any matchup. Like, the maximum is normally like 4 cards. You're not boarding in your entire, like, transformational sideboard plans or anything like that here. Yeah, so this is the type of hand that we have to keep. Even though it's only got 1 land. We're hoping to draw another land, of course, but we have a creature and an obsession, just can't mulligan it. If the Storm Tamer goes unchecked for a couple turns, like, we really are hoping to draw an island, because then we would also have a Spell Pierce to protect it. Unfortunately, did not get there. So hopefully it does not die, because if our opponent just, like, cast downs our Storm Tamer, we are in a bad spot. And there it is. Speak of the devil. Cast down right there. And there's the island, but you're a little too late. A little late. A little late. Now the spell pierces are going to be way worse, because our opponent's just going to be playing creatures. Well, I think we're just jamming the Djinn. Hopefully this play works, and then we can untap with counter magic. I'm not super confident that it will. Of course, you can't always play around everything, so the Hostage Taker is really strong. That's pretty much worst case scenario for us. Yeah, this is rough. I am gonna... I'm just gonna play Pteramander and pass. Hopefully our opponent doesn't cast the Djinn, basically. But I'm guessing that they do. Like, we could tap this down and prevent the Djinn coming down for 1 turn, but we don't have any way of stopping it from coming down. So my hope is that our opponent attacks with this Hostage Taker before casting this, which they're not doing. So if we let our opponent attack, we can tap down the Djinn. I think that's right, because we wanna tap the Djinn down in case we draw an obsession. Yeah, just not gonna block this. The reason why I thought about blocking, but then we want to make sure we have a Merfolk in play for the retort, potentially. So yeah, I'm gonna pass with the the counter magic available. We are... Yeah, so we counter that. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have a negate or something. Yeah, they've played this well. Our opponents just played this game pretty well, I think. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spells. So we can adapt. I'm just gonna play these out. Probably will be adapting a Pteramander if our opponent makes a big attack. And so with the mono blue deck, it's easy to point and say, oh, you shouldn't have played the Tempest Djinn on turn 3 because they had Hostage Taker. Well, we didn't know that they had the Hostage Taker. They could have just as easily not had it. So you do get into those decision points with the deck that can be pretty close calls. Now we're actually not dead here because we have essentially these become 5/5s. So yeah, it's possible we can do something with the Pteramanders. And if our opponent makes too aggressive an attack, we can potentially swing back for lethal as well. Alright, so they didn't have anything to respond to that. So I think we're actually not in a terrible position. I'm going to leave one Pteramander back. We're just hoping our opponent has absolutely nothing at this point. If they have nothing, then we definitely can win this. In fact, they don't even have great attacks. If our opponent has nothing, they don't have great attacks here. Spell Pierce isn't really doing anything for us. Wow, I guess they have not. They in fact do. They have nothing, which is great news for us. So we're just gonna make our attacks. They will have to chump. Then we play Tempest Djinn. Pretty surprised. I thought we were kind of dead. But it looks like they just have... They have nothing. Another Wild Growth Walker. Oh. Why did they say good game? Wow, they said good game. Are they still alive? They just gained a bunch of life. Why did they say good game? They just good gamed us and then played Wild Growth into Jade Light. Alright, so that allows them to go up to 16. I guess we have 16. We still have 16. We have 2 Pteramanders and the Djinn. So they went up to 16, but we still have lethal. And we have 17 actually. We have the Herald as well. That's pretty pretty absurd way to win it. I'll happily take it. We'll take it. Just gonna board out one Spell Pierce for one Miscloaked Herald there, and then I think that's it. So we are definitely at a disadvantage being on the draw this game, although the hand is pretty good. The hand is good overall. Still only a one lander though. But our opponent did go to 6. So we have hope. Definitely have some hope. I hope we don't miss our second land drop again, because that feels like a real uphill battle. I think I'm going to opt first. I doubt they counter an opt here. And we want to find lands. I'm not just going to play the Obsession here. They could either have Negate or Cast Down. And just too likely that they have one. We did luckily find the land we were looking for. So we can opt in response. I think we're just looking for land with the opt. Melody. We just need lands. Well, went 2 cards deeper, but unfortunately, still no land. So our opponent just, well, I guess they're either taking Obsession or Essence Capture. If they take the Capture, we know that they just want us to play the Obsession. So I'm definitely... Alright, so they are taking Obsession. And since they put that in the graveyard, it looks like our opponent is looking for lands. So we can hold up Capture / Trickster. If our opponent attacks, we just take it. And then if they don't play anything, we can end of turn play a Trickster. In this way, if our opponent has something like a Jade Light Ranger, any type of Explorer creature, we definitely want to counter it. Wild Growth Walker is kind of in the middle. I think we just let that resolve. Still no land. We can opt to try to find land, which I think is right. Although if we don't get there, it's really bad. I guess we can just play out the Storm Tamer and just hope our opponent doesn't... I guess that's the play. I mean, I think we needed to to try something there. Hopefully there's no Jade Light Ranger. Yeah, the opt was a gamble to try to hit a land because we have 2 Tempest Djinns in hand that we kind of need to cast. As it turns out, we got max punished because we not only do we not hit it, but our opponent also had the exact card that punishes us. Now we are just kind of dead. Yeah, it was a high risk, high reward play, I think. Did not pay off at all. That being said, we're probably not winning this game without 3 lands. Possible we would. Although, seems like they have removal still in hand, so... And they knew about the Essence Capture. Technically, we are not dead, but we are very close to dead. Yeah, that's unfortunately too late. I'm just gonna chump block, hold up a counterspell. But don't think we can win from here. I guess I will, yeah, just pass. We can use the Storm Tamer to counter a removal spell. Well, if you're watching that game and you were yelling at the screen based on my getting max punished, definitely feels bad. Got punished by Jade Light when we had a counter in hand, but we really wanted to try to get the 3rd land. I'm honestly not sure there. I may have messed that up, but the deck is not that easy to play. So, if you know, go ahead, try it for yourself. It's a very good deck, but sometimes it's not easy. That was a match that I feel like could have gone either way, honestly, based on the cards. So yeah, this hand unfortunately is, we don't have an obsession, which is what we're really missing. We all of a sudden have a bunch of counters, but the treasure map is already in play, so we can't actually counter it now. So this could be rough if we don't draw any more pressure. Of course, I don't know exactly what our opponent's playing. A hand like this would be so insane with Obsession because we just have all of the protection and the counter magic. We just would just go crazy if we had an Obsession. Alright, well I think we probably just have to play that here. It of course will give our opponent a window. It gives our opponent a big window. But we need more pressure on the table. So the map is gonna become a treasure cove. It'd be real nice if our opponent sacrificed the treasures for some sort of non-creature spell here. I doubt that will happen. Five cards is a lot of cards, though. I wonder what our opponent is playing. Maybe some sort of ramp deck. Could have a number of cards in it. Not too sure yet. Think we just have to dive down. There it is. So yeah, we just need to try to protect this Tempest Djinn if at all possible, and then we'll likely win. No wizard in play, so that's why I'm not playing the Pteramander. We want to just leave up Wizard's Retort. If we want to use that. And this is a 2-turn clock, so we're not really, the Pteramander doesn't actually change things in that regard. And our opponent's probably trying to figure out exactly what they can afford to play around and what they can't. Like, it's likely they have a big spell in hand that they are trying to resolve. And then maybe some cheaper stuff as well. So, Banefire, X equals 5. There's no way we can actually stop this. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Nothing we can do. I wonder why our opponent was tanking for so long there. So the reason why I put the Obsession on the Tempest Djinn was to get around Lava Coil, but then of course our opponent just has Banefire. So that's going to slow our clock down by a lot. Yeah, maybe our opponent was thinking we might have a second dive down there. That's really the only thing that would punish that. Wow, Sakama. That's a bold play, and that's not going to work out. We are fairly happy that our opponents just went for that Sakama. I think we're just now on the pass plan. We can go Trickster plus Retort. And now we know our opponent's got some big stuff. Though this is the kind of matchup that Mono Blue should be pretty good against. I don't think we're sideboarding too much. I think I'm just gonna actually keep it the same. The matchup should be pretty good. There's not... Negate doesn't seem like necessarily what we want when our opponent just played a bunch of big creatures. And there's not too much else worth considering. Spell Pierce is okay. It can counter something like a treasure map, potentially, if you're on the draw. Which we are going to be on the draw, of course. Okay, so this is pretty good. And our opponent didn't actually fully make use of those treasures. And they used them for mana, which we were fairly happy with. So we're just going to go for this. Once again, it might not work out. But that's part of the gamble with the deck. And I think we want to opt here rather than playing a second Miscloaked. Being able to opt is pretty valuable if we are able to ensure we have 3 lands for next turn. So that is what I'm looking for, is lands. There we go. So this is a pretty interesting spot. We can play Tempest Djinn, but it leaves our Mistcloaked Herald vulnerable. We can also just play a Herald. We can leave up Retort. So this is one of those spots where you just have so many options. I think I'm just going to pass, though. Don't think there's like a... I don't think we can get super punished for playing something, but we could lose our Mistcloaked Herald, potentially. Whereas this way, we definitely won't. That we can just spell pierce. Don't know if we need another spell pierce. The map is gonna flip here in a moment. So I'm just gonna hold up our counter magic. Drawing a bunch of cards means that we're kind of ahead of the curve here. Alright, well that was unexpected. We may want to actually... I think I'm going to Essence Capture this just for the counter value. Even though the Carnage Tyrant still resolves, putting an additional counter on our creature is actually pretty important, potentially. And it puts another spell in the graveyard, so potentially we could just go for the Pteramander Adapt here, which isn't terrible. But then we can't hold up I think we're supposed to hold up counter if we can. Considering the cards we saw last game. So yeah, I'm gonna hold up Trickster plus Retort. Now we could lose to Banefire this way. That I guess is the worry, right? Because we saw Banefire the previous game. Well, we actually can present lethal because we can play the Trickster, and with the Herald it becomes 5 damage plus the 5 from the Pteramander. So I think that's going to be our line, most likely, to play around our opponent dealing us 7 this turn, untapping, attacking, then Banefiring us, maybe? So I think we're in a good spot. And of course, Trickster doesn't really do anything here against the Carnage Tyrant. Our opponent probably realizes at this point that we just have a counterspell. It's super obvious that we do. And if they just jam something... Okay, so they are going for Banefire on the Herald, which is actually the right play. So that resolves. I'm just going to adapt Pteramander, which creates a two-turn clock, so we can attack here. And pass. So the question is, can we play around a second Banefire? I guess we don't need to, because our opponent's doesn't have one, so we just counter this, and that's just game over. So So we are 3-1 now. Not bad. Especially considering the one was questionable. The one loss. Pretty straightforward keep here. White aggro is one of our tougher matchups. Certainly winnable, though. I think we just want to be maximizing, like, trading one of our 1/1s for a 2/1 is just a smart choice. Especially when they have cards like Legion's Landing that incentivize our opponent to want to go wide. We want this Djinn in play. So the question is, do we jam it here or not? The other option is to hold up Retort. Then we can potentially play it with a mana to back it up. Yeah, I'm gonna attack with just the Storm Tamer and pass. This also allows us to have a counter for something like a History of Benalia. Speak of the Devil. There it is. So if our opponent attacks here, we would block. And then we could also use the dive down to save our Herald. But it looks like they're not going to attack. So now we're actually in the exact same place as last turn, so I think we just run back the same play. Not playing the Djinn plays around Conclave Tribunal. I think we just have to let that history resolve, the Legion's Landing rather, resolve. Okay. Well, now our play is probably just Merfolk Trickster to stop the landing from flipping. Definitely a weird game. Had we jammed the Tempest Djinn on 3, it plays out very differently. Alright, so here's a Johnny. We certainly could counter this. The only issue is the landing flipping. But I think it's just a counter here. Just a really strong card. A Johnny. We can't actually get rid of it because it would go up to 5 loyalty. And so we couldn't get rid of it on the following turn. We basically are going to have to... We need a little bit of help now to beat the landing flips, but it's certainly possible to do it. I'm just going to attack and Merfolk Trickster this turn. Keeping up the... Yeah, the dive downs... The dive downs are ending up not really being very useful here. So if we want to surprise our opponent, we can just Trickster after attacks. Although they're doing this now, which means they're probably trying to Luxodon on us. So I'm gonna die. We don't want a Venerated Luxodon coming down. So I'm just gonna Trickster now. I mean, to be fair, the Luxodon may still come down. And then we're in a bad spot. So given we know our opponent most likely has Luxodon, I think I'm just going to attack with everything. This way, they would have to tap their creatures for a turn in order to Luxodon, and it looks like they may do that, but there is some risk involved. It's probably the correct play, though, to do it. Still looking for that 4th land. Finally found it. It's a little late. A little late to the party. So I'm just going to push some damage. We can deal 4 here. Unfortunately, all of these have lifelink, which is the big issue. So our opponent can gain 8 up to 14. This could actually be close. So we would need another spell in the graveyard to have 3 spells, which would give us the out of drawing a land. So let's see. We probably dive down. Well, the question is, we don't necessarily want to use the dive down if our opponent has... So, let's see. If we draw a land, this would be 5 and 5. I guess that doesn't actually win us the game. So I'm going to block to... I'm going to block to survive. Yeah. I'm going to block like this and dive down the Djinn. Ooh. Chance for glory. I guess that just wins our opponent the game. Well, does it? Actually... Does it? So... Oh yeah, it does. It does. Well... Doesn't feel great. Does not feel great. Chance for glory. Got us. I did not realize that our opponent was playing a Chance for Glory deck. So probably just played around the wrong stuff that game and it cost us. Oh well. That's what sideboarding is for. To try to get our revenge. The board in Duelists. Duelist, Melodies, and Mages are the cards that we definitely want to consider here. I'm going to take out the Mistcloaks. Not sure if we want Dive Down considering how terrible they were that previous game. We didn't actually see removal spells out of our opponent. So yeah, this is close. I think we're supposed to keep it, but the one land hands without the obsession are definitely much riskier. The ops are kind of nice with the Pteramander. If I didn't have two ops, I would definitely mulligan. Ooh, well there's an obsession, okay. That makes our play easy. And if we draw Island, that's obviously insane. Because we would get to have Spell Pierce available. Yeah, not too sure what our opponent is thinking about here. Unfortunately, did not get there. Wow, our opponent didn't attack there. That's just a mistake. Clear error. And this is quite a good spot we've found ourselves in. Have Spell Pierce for non-creatures, have Essence Capture for creatures. And we have no need to feel super pressured by this board. Definitely don't want the Marshal to resolve. We also get to make our Pteramander bigger, which is great. So I don't. This is the type of spot where we're just kind of snowballing. I like playing the Storm Tamer now. I think we play Storm Tamer. And also hold up Merfolk Trickster. Unfortunately, that is going to resolve. Although we can make some. We can tap it with Merfolk Trickster, which can be relevant. Depending on if our opponent attacks with the Snubhorn Sentry, we can make the play of tapping the Marshal, and that would. Oh, okay, I see. They're going for Tribunal. So I guess we Spell Pierce that. So our opponent's 2 away from the city's blessing. The Djinn is good here, though. We can play the Djinn and have the Storm Tamer available to potentially protect it. I guess our opponent could have chance for glory. Should probably think about that one because we saw it. So if we play Djinn and they have that, I still don't think we're. Well, we might be. No, I don't think we're dead because the Snubhorn Sentry is only a 1/4 right now. Could be dead. They only have 1 card left in hand. So I think this is right. Also, yeah, now the... Ooh, okay. Luckily, they didn't have a chance for glory there. So we're going to counter that. And now we can tap down the Aspirant if we want to. Although we would be 1 short of lethal. So the Aspirant has flying, but our opponent doesn't actually have good attacks here. So that's the key. I guess they can get in with the Snuphorn. That's fine. So we want to play around the maximum number of things. If we attack with both, our opponent can kill the Pteramander with the aspirant, but I don't know that we actually care. So I think attacking with both is correct, rather than tapping. It also forces the block, and then we just have... should have lethal next turn. Oh, did our opponent just not block there? I think they didn't block. I was like, oh, this block is automatic, and then they didn't make it. Chart, of course, is a little bit worse on the draw. I think I'm going to take that out. Take one of them out. So we played around the Tribunal the first game, but they didn't have it that game. They had it the second game, which is very typical. Very typical. This could be... This isn't the way I want to go out. This hand is not very good. We're on 6 already. I think we're supposed to go to 5. Fairy Duelist. Alright. We're going to keep that on top. Hope it's good. And then we can maybe eat something with the Duelist and then also get these Djinns into play. That's our plan. It's not necessarily a good plan, but it is a plan. I think I'm just spell piercing this. Hopefully our opponent attacks into this Duelist. That would be sweet. I guess we still... Do we still play it here? It would save... So it would make this into a 1-2. So that at least saves us 3 points of damage, but it's definitely not what we wanted there. Not too much choice besides just playing out the Djinn. I'm just gonna go Djinn number 2. Our opponent has another removal spell. It sucks, but... seems like we can only play around so much at this particular moment. And they did have another removal spell. So I'm just gonna pass. If they send in the Sky Marcher, we can Fairy Duelist and then double block it with our 2 Duelists. Alright, that wasn't bad. I guess we're casting that. And I'm just going to pass so that we have a double block available on the Marshal. So our opponent's at 8 permanents now. I think we do attack with the Duelist. With the counterspell in hand. So we have some draws. We could theoretically top deck out of this. Actually, maybe we're not. Yeah, I guess our opponent's still only... Our opponent's on... I guess they're only on 8 now, so maybe I miscounted the turn before. They're on 8. So we definitely take this trade. And then we just have to find an answer to the Marshal. Which we didn't. So I think we just attack now. And then next turn, hope to draw something. I guess I'm gonna leave all of these back now. We have a triple block on the Marshal, which I would take that. Our opponent would get to kill 2 creatures. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about the history. That's fairly likely to kill us. Well, Melody is good. So the question now is... If we want to wait, we can try to wait to take the Marshal, but I don't think we can wait. We don't really have the time. So I'm going to take the token. And this allows us to get in at least a couple damage. Not really playing around stuff here at this point. Yeah, now we are just dead, pretty much. Assume they're coming in with the team. Alright. Well, our 2 losses were very, very close. Possibly messed up on those losses. Ooh, that's sweet. I got a Star of Extinction and a Radiant Destiny. So, yeah. Alright, well, hopefully you all learned something about the deck, despite only going 3-2 where our 2 losses were really close, but alright.